It's impossible to be a precious Latino or Latina and not understand America as in part an empire with imperial expansion, where Texas used to be Mexico and so forth and so on. See, whereas you can be Black and have been a settler of the empire on somebody else's land, indigenous people's land. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because for example, you know, you hear these politicians all the time, especially the narrow parochial ones, talking about, well, U.S. slavery was America's original sin. You say, no, that was the second one. The first one was indigenous peoples, dispossession of their land, violation of their precious humanity, genocidal effects in terms of the imperial expansion from 13 colonies to 48 states. Now, if 50% of Mexico was part of the United States, and then the Imperial War, the war that Ulysses S. Grant writes in his memoirs, the phony war, he participated in it.
Oh, Lincoln was against the war as well.
And Lincoln opposed it, actually. Absolutely right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you can see how complicated it gets, you see, because even when I hear to talk about the Black Buffaloes, cowboys, and I say, well,
soldiers,
soldiers, even
and the cowboys,
and the cowboys too, you know. And I say, yes, that's part of American history, but you see, I'm a Christian. I'm with the least of these. I'm with the orphans and the widows and the fatherless and the motherless. So I'm on the side of the Indians in terms of that. I'm not going to be on the side of cowboys, no matter what color they are. This is the moral and spiritual issue. And similarly so in terms of the Mexican War. Well, we got to be on America's side because they're pushing out the Mexicans. No, this was unjust. You got to stand up for justice no matter what color they are. And so you can see the ways in which Black folk are viciously degraded, exploited, oppressed within the U.S. context. And yet we don't have the same kind of colonial experience that a lot of Latinos have, because we're so identified with the flag, even when that flag has beaten us down, and we're trying to gain access to the mainstream of the country, and therefore end up oftentimes on the settler side, as opposed to those whose land are being settled or those whose land is being taken away in that regard. So that the overlap is that both groups catching hell. Well, let's be honest about that. But in terms of the perception, see, it's very difficult at times for Black people to understand America as an empire. Whereas for Latino brothers and sisters, you know, what was America doing in Guatemala in 19? What were they doing in Nicaragua? What were they doing in the Dominican Republic? Those were military interventions overthrowing democratic governments. Yeah,
you look at, I mean, even Haiti. So you think the freedom of Haiti was, the French recognized Haiti before America did.
Oh, that's exactly right. Going all the way back to the 1800s. Absolutely. No, so even our precious Haitian brothers and sisters have a very different experience than the Black folk who I come from in Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and so forth. Both groups catching hell, but different perceptions owing to their relations to the empire with its democratic practices. Because see, what is unique about the United States in many ways is that it views itself as a democratic experiment, which in part it is. It is a democratic, but it's against the backdrop of imperial expansion. So it is in denial about it being an empire, even as it's affirming itself as a democratic experiment. And we have to tell the truth. We have to say it's both.
Yeah.